Welcome back to Sticks Tricks. I am Sticks. Today we're working on my 2015 Audi Allroad, and in this video we're covering the aerial, the antenna fin on the back here. Does yours look like this? Does it leak water? Is this broken off entirely? Or did it break off entirely like mine and then it's waterproof taped barely back on? Well, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace that. I looked online, I saw a few forum posts, but nothing straightforward on the Wagon version of this car, of the B8. This is a B8.5, being a 2015. So if you're like me and you bought a replacement aerial and you're looking at how to replace it, as dropping the headliner in these cars is a big job and pretty tedious, this video is going to show you how to do that. Let's get right to it. All you need for tools are a plastic pry tool, interior pry tool, and then a T30 Torx, and I have just a little driver here for that, little socket wrench for that. And this is the replacement aerial. I already had found one painted in the correct color. Seems to be in good shape. Hopefully it does work. Here's the part number for you there. Obviously do your own research to confirm that works for your application. And now to get to this, actually on the Wagon, it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. All you have to do is remove this rear trim panel that's actually separate from the headliner. Yours won't look like this. I already had started and kind of done a dry run to make sure I know how to do it. So what you're going to do is get your pry tool in here. I'm going to do this one-handed for you. So you're going to get this underneath the gasket and start to pry this down. In this panel, first you're going to sneak this back edge down and then pull it back towards you. That's really all there is to it. So as we start to get this down, be careful of where you're putting this in, because there are some electronics in there and part of the motor and gearbox system for the automatic raising hatch. So as you start to get this down, you'll see there's these metal kind of standoffs that you just need to get it below, or kind of to the front of. As we can see there, that's about the spacing you need. And then as we start to get it down to there, mine, like I said, I just had it off. This might be really stiff at first, but in my case, I was a little aggressive with it. And as long as you're pulling in the right direction, you're not really going to break anything. It's just kind of a stiff fit. And this slips onto, we can see that little tab there. This slips forward onto these trims right here. And then there's also just a little tab right here and right here that slip forward. So as long as you're pulling this straight back, you're really, it's going to be hard to break something. So what I did was I got my pry tool. I got it in there and pried up on this tab to get it to kind of release, and then the whole thing pulled backwards. There's also two metal tabs on those two white standoffs there, but like I said, you just need to pull straight back and everything will come off and then it'll make sense. So pull back, and I didn't fully put these in, which is why it came off easy for the video. But like I said, you can see here how everything slips on exactly forward. So as long as you get that front edge down and with even pressure pull straight back, all of these will pop out. So these two metal clips were in these slots right here. And then there's a little centering tab right here. It doesn't click in, it's just a little centering standoff there. And then we can see right here where the felt is, the anti-rattle felt. That's where this tab kind of hooked in there. And we can see there's a little notch that kind of drops in on both sides. So like I said, just pull straight back. I know I've been talking about this for a little while, but I know this makes a lot of people nervous yanking on this stuff, because I doubt this is cheap if it breaks. But I just want to assure you that as long as you're doing it correctly, it will pop maybe violently kind of back towards you, but once it pops loose, you're good to go there. Nothing, it's going to be hard to really break something. Now we need to lower just this portion of the headliner, because the aerial, as we can see there, the aerial's just right under here. All we're going to do there is use our pry tool and just get it as close as we can to this plastic tab and just pry down like so. We can see it has its own little tabs, nothing to unscrew or anything, it's just pressure fit. And then it gives us enough room to just push the headliner down enough. You're not going to hurt it, you're not going to crease anything if you're just pressing it down enough to get a wrench in there. And then if the lighting will allow with the camera, that's our aerial right there. We can see the T30 and we can see those connections there for the MMI system. And now before we start messing with the antenna on the car, first what I did was just remove the T30 Torx to get this kind of retaining bracket out of the way. So then with this removed, we have more space to work on these connections. These are very easy to remove, but can be a headache if you don't know how the kind of clips work on them. So I'm gonna do my best to explain them and kind of show you here with the limited space and lighting. So you'll find them in the condition of the red one here. We see this clear clip on the red connection that is secured, locked in. That's not coming off. You're just gonna break something if you try to pry that. Now on the green one, we can see the clip is slightly lower and there's a little edge kind of tab on it. So what you're gonna do on the red one is you give it some pressure and pull down, and we can see there it's pulled down, and now we squeeze it towards the metal portion here in. So squeeze in and it pulls right off. And if I can show you here, it's a really kind of cool trick little connection here, because we see when you pull that down, you can actuate it and it gives it leverage to unhook from that retaining tab on the connection. So now let me show you on the green one. Since I have that ready to go, we'll give that a squeeze and it just drops straight off. Super easy. These clear tabs, they can fall out if you kind of pry them down too much, but they do just slip back in. You didn't break anything if that happens. And I just wanted to show you how that's done. I didn't just want to say, now disconnect these and cut to the next clip, because these might be a big headache if you might not realize kind of how they come apart. And you may not need to remove this first. I did, just to have some extra room to pull those connections off. So now what we have to do is remove that retaining clip here. We see it has the 4 prongs. This, we can see some daylight there when I push this up. This will come down, so you just kind of have to work it off because it's kind of a tight fit in there. So this will come down, just kind of work an edge at a time. You might need your little trim tool or even a flat blade screwdriver. Work that off. And now with that retainer removed, yes, it does remove. It may be a headache. You may have a headache after you're fooling with this for a while. It's just a very tight fit on the antenna. It's designed that way. So just keep wiggling it off, kind of even in an even fashion, and it does come off. And now don't just go yanking your antenna off, because on the antenna itself, the plastic base, we can see these 2 clips, one right there and one right here. From the bottom, you're just going to want to squeeze these kind of like this. Give it a squeeze and push up from the bottom inside the car. Do not just try to yank this from your roof. You're probably going to damage the roof. I should have noted a bit sooner in this video. The roof is just, it's pretty thin where these antennas are, and a lot of times when these antennas get damaged due to brute force, the roof also gets damaged and it creases or dents. Just a word of caution as well. So like I said, now once you get all the connections off, you get the little retaining clip off, just give this a squeeze, and you'll notice when you squeeze this just the right way, the antenna will free up, and then you can push it from the bottom and then pull it the rest way from the top once you have this released. And now that it's popped up, what I've done is I've gotten a microfiber towel. I didn't deem this as necessary at the beginning of this video. I just washed the car, so I knew there'd be a little bit of water around this. So what we're gonna do is lift this off, and I'm gonna set it aside very carefully, and then use our microfiber and dry this. And then what we can also do is just give the roof a little clean here. And I would say just use a little bit of light cleaner that's not gonna hurt the clear coat on the paint, some sort of automotive approved detailing product. Just give this a clean, so then it's got a clean mating surface for your next antenna. So now with the area cleaned, we have our new antenna here. And the plastic, depending on the year kind of this was made, this plastic base may be a bit different. As you can see in my replacement, it is clear. It really shouldn't make a difference, but obviously just make sure that this works. Your MMI system, your navigation all works as intended. And I did reference the part numbers. They are exactly the same as the one I removed from the car. So I just want to note that. Now all you're going to do is just slip this in here. Also, before I do this, it is normal to get a little bit of water kind of around here, because there is an additional lipped gasket around the plastic housing, or this plastic base. So the sealing gasket you see on the outside of the car, it does aid obviously in sealing most of the water, but a little bit will get in there, and then it won't get into your car because of this additional little seal that kind of gets preloaded in the hole here. So that is by design. So as we pop this in, you could hear that tick tick as the gasket, or sorry, as the clips there kind of loosely, secures this on the vehicle. So now we're going to go inside, and first we're going to slide on our retaining clip, and then put our next retaining mount there, and then get our screw started. And now with that bracket back on and tightened up, you may be asking, well, how tight do I do that T30? I don't want to damage anything. I don't want to damage the roof. Just tighten it until it kind of stops turning with that small ratchet. You'll see the sealing gasket will kind of naturally preload on the roof. It'll kind of squish down just a little bit, and then you'll notice you can even wiggle this at different points of tightening that T30. This will get very firm with the roof, and you'll be able to wiggle it a little bit, and this gasket won't lift off the roof. So this is, properly tightened now. Also, just pay attention to how tight yours was. Just study what it looked like when the old one was on your roof and how tight that one was. That'll help as well. But honestly, this kind of, with how the system works, it'll pinch everything properly, and this will kind of naturally just snug up, and then you'll notice the gasket being preloaded on the roof, as I had just mentioned. And now lastly, plugging in these connections, just line them up to the correct color. Of course, it's a little tricky. I'm watching the camera to do this. It'll give a nice little click there, and then you just push up on the little clear retaining clip, and then that is what locks it in. And just after that, just give them all a little wiggle, make sure everything is secured, give them even a little tug, make sure they're not just gonna fall off. And now, before you put your trim pieces back in here, just turn the ignition on the vehicle, make sure there's no warning lights, make sure that MMI system works as designed. And just like that, I've confirmed with my vehicle that the radio and navigation still works as designed. Now what we have to do is just push this tab back in. It might need a little bit of a hit, like so, for that to secure itself. We can see headliner looks perfectly normal, no creasing or anything, and I did pull down on this pretty hard to get clearance doing that antenna. Now looking at the trim panel to go back in, you'll kind of slide it in forward, make sure these tabs go in their proper places, and then you'll line up the two metal securing clips there in these two slots, and then give it a nice shove forward. And now that I've lined those tabs up and then made sure everything was centered, we can see here it's centered within the two other side panels. Now you're really just gonna have to secure this gasket back over it, which you can get your trim tool in there and kind of run it through like this. You can use your fingers as well, and just get this sealing gasket back over this trim piece. And just like that, looks like no one was even in there. And then we have a very nice undamaged antenna that works properly. The sealing surface is very nice, and no more weatherproof tape on mine. Unfortunately, we had purchased this vehicle, and right before I was gonna pick it up, the previous owner cleared some snow off the roof, and he bumped this with the foam snow brush, and then this housing had cracked internally and popped off the base there. It's a very common thing you'll find online, and I hope this video helped you out on how to replace this on your Avant, on your B8 Wagon. Don't pay some ridiculous price to have someone else do it. Take your time. You're really not going to damage anything. It's a good learning experience. And this antenna was only like 70 bucks used off eBay. Just find a reputable seller with a good return policy. So then if you have any issues, of course, you can get it returned and figure out, another option. So with all that being said, leave a like on this video over here is helpful. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future how-to videos and just general motoring related items. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.